Have you ever let your inner art critic control your thoughts while you've been drawing? Today we're going to try two-handed drawing, bilateral drawing, that is going to help us overcome those art critic thoughts. My name's Courtney Mace and I am the self-appointed leader of the ugly art movement. The technique we're going to be looking at today is primarily used in art therapy, around trauma healing, around decreasing stress and anxiety, and it's brilliant, and we'll go into why in a second. But my main thing is the fact that you can create some amazing ugly art with it. And we're going to look at all the different ways to do ugly art with bilateral drawing. That's right, we're going to draw with both hands at the same time. It's used a lot for art therapy, so helping people heal from trauma and helping people to overcome stress and anxiety a lot. And the reason for this is, and we've talked about this when I use my left hand, is we activate, when we use both hands, we're actually activating both sides of our brains at the same time. And so what ends up happening is your brain starts connecting in places it wasn't when you were stressed and anxious, and essentially we start making connections between the feeling and the thinking parts of our brains, which then helps us balance. When we are feeling stressed and anxious or feeling trauma, what's actually happening is the parts of our brains that are in charge of feeling are overriding everything else, and our brain kind of concentrates on that one section. And so that's why we have those really quite emotional reactions to those feelings, because that's the parts of our brains. So by activating both sides of our brains, we can activate the thinking parts of our brain. That balances that out and makes us go, it's okay, I am in no real danger at the moment, I'm alright. Because our brain's always trying to save us from death. So that's my understanding of it. If I'm wrong, please tell me in the comments. So today we're going to look at bilateral drawing. With bilateral drawing, you can literally do it with anything. When I say drawing, I don't mean just drawing, you could paint as well. And today we are going to try a heap of different mediums and different ways to approach bilateral drawing. Bilateral just means two sides, by the way, so using both sides. I'm going to put you down. We're just going to get stuck straight into this, and we're going to start exploring some different ways to do this. It's used in art a lot for warming up and loosening up. But today we're going to also look at how we could potentially use it as a final artwork. And none of the approaches are wrong. You can use this however you like. If you just want to use this as a warm-up or in your sketchbook, go for it. Or if you just want to be able to try out materials with it, go for it. So I'm going to put you down. We're going to start. Let's just get straight into bilateral drawing. Let's do it. Okay, so to start with, I thought we'd go into my smaller altered sketchbook. We are going to work bigger because this strategy, I like working bigger because you start moving your whole body. If we can get our whole body moving, the more movement, I think, the better in terms of therapy. But you don't have to, you can do it small like this. So we're going to have a look at the first approach to doing this, and there's a couple of artists out there, of none of which I can actually remember their names. So the first way we're going to do this is we're going to use acrylic markers, and we're going to do it abstract. So we're not going to use a reference photo for this one. We're also going to do, for me, my right hand's going to be this side and my left hand's going to draw on this side. So there is an artist out there who does these large scale artworks, and this is essentially what he does. He does these great sweeping artworks. I can't think of his name. I'll put his name on the screen if I remember to do that. I got my two acrylic paint markers, and I'm just going to do some shapes, and they're going to be mirrored on both sides. And it's about just get to start. So you can see I want nice big swoops. And this is such a good warm-up exercise. If you want to halfway, you can swap colours, because if you're using two different colours, you can swap. These two colours work so well together, and I thought it might look cool. And it's almost looking, mine is almost looking like a brain. You can build it up as much as you want. You can see, I have trouble holding this because I'm not used to holding something in my left hand. And it's a bit awkward. With just a pretty colour. Colours that you like. Get it out there. I actually really love these two colours together. It's lavender and it just says green on this one, but I don't think that's correct. I don't think that's accurate. They are very nice together. For this next one, where I'm going to use Artist Spectrum, they call this concentrated artist ink. Oh, I think it's pretty much this is the old packaging for their now pigmented inks. And this is just in burnt sienna. I just got a little bit in a cup here. I'm going to just have that off to the side here. And I've got two paintbrushes. These are not the exact same paintbrush. You can see one's slightly longer. This one's a 7 and this one's a 5. And I'm basically just going to have both in my hands. For this one, we're going to do an actual picture. So I've got this little picture that I took of a rainbow lorikeet. And I've kind of got it off just to the side. I'll put it on the screen if you want to join me. So because I'm doing a picture, I'm not going to do kind of symmetrical. I'm going to work here and I'm going to work on the beak with both at the same time and move around the picture. Okay, but I have to be using both hands at the same time. We don't want to get bogged down in the fact that this is going to look like a picture. So sometimes if you're going to use ink, maybe water it down a little bit so it flows a little bit better off the brush. I might actually just add a bit of water to mine. Yeah, and I'm going to do exactly that. I'm actually going to start on the beak. This process here is actually kind of a little bit blind. Most of this I will probably not be looking, and I've kind of zoomed in a little bit. I look every now and then. It doesn't have to be entirely blind. This is your artwork, not mine. You do it how it works well for you. So I probably should have used a bit more water in my ink. But you can see I'm kind of now going to work on the top of this wing here. I can do a little bit both sides, or I can work both this side together. It doesn't really matter exactly what I do as long as I'm moving both brushes at the same time. And this is why doing this in your sketchbook is good, because you can work out what works well for you. You do have to look when you're using ink and things like this. You do have to look so that you can see when your brush is kind of running out of ink. Sometimes I've got to really think to move my left hand. Sometimes I don't even think to move it, and see, like then, it wasn't moving very much. I have to actually go think about it and do it. So, ink works well with this So this way of working, not necessarily with the ink, but with the two hands working on the beak at the same time, is my favourite way to do this. I've discovered by doing it. It might not be yours. You just gotta try some different things. For this next one, I'm actually going to use soft pastels. So this was very similar to, I did a reel the other day where I used soft pastels. I've kind of got two very contrasting colours for this one. I'm just going to see how it goes. For this one, I've got some budgies, and I'm going to try and draw them separately with my two hands. So this is another way you could do this. So soft pastels, two different colors, and I'm going to draw two different birds facing it. They're going to be essentially like a mirror image of each other. So let's see. I want to see what works well. You might notice as well, I don't really take my drawing implement off the page. I actually really like how this one's turning out thus far. It might be more the colours than anything, but... And I'm doing this semi-blind, this one. That means, so what I mean by that is I'm not always looking, but I do look every now and then just to see where I'm at. Really like that. That looks actually really cool. So that's one way to do it. You do like the mirror image of the same picture essentially. For the next one, I'm actually going to use 2 bits of charcoal. The 2 bits here are roughly the same size. That one's a bit thicker. And I'm going to draw just one of these birds that I just drew before, one of these budgies. And I'm going to do this one very similar to how I did the ink, where I'm kind of working on bits at the same time of the bird. So yeah, I'm just going to get stuck into it. And it's interesting because I'm getting different marks depending on which hands, because I kind of a little bit more heavy-handed with my right hand than my left, which is interesting. I don't know, it's funny because I always say, oh, I love this. I love how this has turned out. But I actually really do like how this one's turned out too. I don't actually know what that was with this. Sometimes my left hand just goes a-walking. It just goes a-walking. That's cool. So yeah, I can do that. And you know, like if there was a darker coloured bird, I could use the two of them to kind of get a real dark patch in like that, you know, and things like that. So yeah, that's with charcoal. I think these two have to be my favourite. I'm really happy I'm getting back into using my soft pastels because they're my all-time favourite. I want to try another thing that I did with soft pastels, like this one. So I drew it once with 2 hands, and then I went in with different colours. So I used 2 really light greens, and then I went back in with a brown and a dark green, and I really like how that layering looked. And I actually really like how it's looking on this craft paper as well. So in this, when I made this sketchbook, I actually alternated between regular white paper and craft paper, and I really do like how it's turned out. So I'm going to do similar colours again. So I've got right next to me that you cannot see is my whole box of soft pastels. So I'm going to start with the same 2 greens I started with this bird, because they're very similar. And again, I'm gonna do another budgie. So again, I'm just gonna do it semi-blind again, but I'm actually gonna put a lot more color down. So loads more colour. Oh, broke it. And I kind of want this scribbliness to be there. Alright, so I'm going to grab two darker colours. Today I'm going to use, I've got this green and like this pinky red colour. So that's what I'm going to use here. And I'm just going to, I'm going to try to be a lot more sparse and kind of actually really love how that's turned out. Oh my goodness. Maybe I need to do some more larger drawings like this. Now over this side, I'm going to do acrylic paint. I don't think acrylic paint is the best option for this medium, but I just want to show you that it's possible with any medium, including paint. I'm literally going to use some paints that I've got on my desk, and you know what, I'm going to do the exact same thing I've been doing lately in all my videos, and using like the same or similar reference pictures the entire way through. So if you want to have a play around with it, feel free to use that one I did at the beginning, which was actually mine. And actually, you know what, let's go back to that one. Let's go back to this rainbow lorikeet that I used at the beginning. Why not? And I've got like here, I've got fluorescent yellow, and I've got this mintish green color, and I've got two paint brushes. Again, like with the ink, they're not exactly the same, but they're similar. This might be cool if you've got really big brushes and a really big piece of paper or a really big canvas. I think that would be so freeing to be able to just really get your whole arms moving. So again, I'm going to use a color per brush. I want to try to be a little bit more considered with this one. The restrictions with paint is that you have to keep loading up your brush, whereas the ink was a little bit easier because it was a lot more fluid. So you load up once and you could use it for ages. Whereas with the paint, it's like you use what's on your brush. Yeah, so for me, the acrylic paint is not quite as enjoyable because it's got such limitations. I want to put some more pink in though, because I feel like the pink in this is actually the dark. I think because it's more saturated. And I'm going to put some pink on both brushes, and I'm going to hold my brushes right back this time, and I'm going to just add some more little details. Got this heavy body. It's a bit old and it's starting to dry up in the tube, so I'm trying to use up my old paints. So let's go. I'm not washing brushes. Let's go with some highlights and some lights. Yeah, it's a bit of a muddy mess. I would add to this. I'd keep adding to this. Personally, is what I would do anyway. But yeah, I think that's turned out pretty cool. All right, let's have a little look-see at what we did together. This was the first drawing we did. It was with the paint markers. And it was just scribbling on the page with the two markers, and I swapped hands to scribble some more over the two pages. So that was the very first one I did with the two different paint markers there. The next one we tried was using ink with two paintbrushes. I so enjoyed doing this one. Not a massive fan of how it turned out, but I actually really enjoyed making it, so maybe that's something I need to explore a bit more. So that was acrylic ink, or that was this Art Spectrum ink. I quite like Art Spectrum inks because they're really quite fluid. Then I whipped out the old soft pastels. I haven't actually sprayed this, and this is a bit of glassine that I've put between the pages. And it's actually very interesting. This hasn't really smudged at all with the glassine, but you'll see in the next page, the charcoal smudged heaps, and I think it's because it's willow charcoal. But anyway, so I used two different colors, and I did the same bird, but mirror imaged. And I drew those two at the same time. I actually really like this so much. And it might be just the way that these two birds look on this paper with these colors. It is just, I love it. Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Need to do this more. So here's the charcoal. You can see it's been smudged so bad. It had, I don't know why, I think it's willow. I think it's because it's willow. But this was two sticks of willow charcoal. that I used. Again, I really like how this little budgie turned out before it got really smudged. I've since sprayed it with a really loose, a light spraying of fixative. I wonder if then we went in with colour. That would be cool. So get 2 different colours and go in on top of the charcoal. Just an idea, thoughts. There's so much you could do with this. So much. I know I sound like a broken record, but I actually really love how this one turned out too. I think it's the colours more so. So with the two-handed, what I have been finding is it's very easy to overwork it. So go in with too much. So I liked this whole idea of going in with the light colour and then doing just a little bit with the darker colours over the top. And I think that has worked so well with this budgie here. Wonder if I need to turn this one into an art print, because I really like it. This next one was an acrylic painting. It's not my favorite strategy to use with acrylic paint because you have to constantly repaint up your brushes and things like that. So not a massive fan of how this turned out. Love the colors I picked. This turquoise with the pink, with the green, the lime green. Such a good color combo. Don't really like how it turned out though. It's a bit of an odd looking bird. But I wanted to show you that you can literally do this with any art materials that you've got around the house. You know, and I didn't even use pencil or colored pencil or even charcoal pencils or soft pastel pencils. There's still a lot of stuff I didn't use that you can use. And that was it. Thank you so much for joining me on this fun little experimentation of using bilateral drawing. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I've used some materials that I haven't used much lately and I've loved every second of it. Thank you so much for joining me. If you want to keep binging some of my ugly art techniques that I've done videos on, here's a little playlist. I'll pop a playlist, why not? So join me next week, same time, same place. See ya.